Okay, so let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at something pretty fascinating. It actually bridges the physical world with our internal moral compass. We're going to break down the mechanics of transverse waves, but here's the twist. We're looking at it through the lens of the Smart Academy Godly Learners series. We'll unpack the 8th grade science, the what, the why, and the how of wave motion, and then see exactly how this curriculum connects that physical order to a spiritually grounded framework. It's a really interesting look at mapping universe mechanics to a broader philosophy.
To kick things off, the curriculum uses a hook we've all experienced at some point. Picture this. You're at a massive sports stadium. The crowd is absolutely roaring. And suddenly, you see it rolling toward you, the wave. You know the drill, right? You wait for the exact perfect moment, throw your hands in the air, sit back down, and watch that energy just keep going all the way around the arena. Well, whether you realize that at the time or not, you are actually acting out perfect transverse wave motion. You, as the matter, just moved up and down, but the wave itself, it traveled all the way around the stadium.
Moving right into Section 1, Catching the Wave. What exactly is a transverse wave? Let's break down the actual science here. When you're doing that stadium wave, or even just flicking a jump rope up and down in your driveway, what's actually happening? By definition, a transverse wave is one where the particles of the medium move perpendicularly, so at right angles, to the direction the wave itself is traveling. If the wave shoots forward horizontally, the particles are just bumping vertically up and down. Think back to that jump rope. You snap your hand up and down, creating a vertical disturbance, right? But the ripple shoots straight away from you horizontally down the rope. That perfect right-angle relationship, that is the absolute defining signature of a transverse wave.
Which brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of a Wave, breaking down the parts.
So every single transverse wave shares the exact same structural anatomy. First up, you've got the crest. This is the absolute highest point, literally the peak of the mountain. Then you have the exact opposite, the trough, which is the absolute lowest point, or the valley. And finally, the wavelength. This is simply a measure of distance. You find it by measuring from one crest to the very next crest, or from trough to trough. It tells you exactly how long one complete wave cycle is. And the really cool thing is, whether we're talking about a tiny ripple in a puddle or a massive ocean swell, they all share this exact same structural anatomy. All right, Section 3, How Wave Energy Moves. Energy moves, matter stays. This is actually one of the most commonly misunderstood concepts in physics. Waves carry energy. They do not carry matter. This perfectly illustrates the golden rule of waves. The energy moves forward horizontally, but the matter itself, the water, the rope, the people in the stadium stands, it just vibrates vertically around a fixed position and stays put. The water in the middle of the ocean isn't physically traveling miles and miles to wash up on the beach. It's really just bobbing up and down. It's the energy passing through that water that actually makes it all the way to the shore. Let's look at Section 4, Waves in Action, Examples in Nature and Technology. Transverse waves are literally everywhere, and we can split them neatly into nature and technology. In nature, obviously, we have ocean waves. But get this, we also have light waves. Light is a transverse electromagnetic wave, and the wild part is it can move energy through the vacuum of space without even needing a medium, like air or water, to travel through. Then on the tech side, engineers rely heavily on these principles to design communication devices. The Wi-Fi or cellular data you're using right now, that relies on transverse waves. They're essential in medical imaging to see inside the body, and they're even absolutely crucial for earthquake safety. Understanding seismic waves is how we design buildings that won't collapse. Knowing this behavior is how we predict, control, and use these forces to protect our lives.
Moving on to Section 5, Divine Order in Science, bringing order to patterns and motions.
So, shifting gears just a bit, the broader perspective of the Smart Academy curriculum encourages looking at the predictable order of these scientific laws from a spiritual perspective rather than just as cold facts. They highlight this verse from Psalm 89:9, which says, "You rule over the surging sea. When its waves mount up, you still them." From the curriculum standpoint, just as the scripture describes God calming the physical ocean, that same divine hand brings perfect, reliable order to the complex wave mechanics we just talked about. The idea here is that science is just our way of discovering the profound structure that was already placed in the universe.
To really lock this in, the curriculum uses a rapid-fire homework checkpoint. It asks students to quickly recall that perpendicular motion, define those crests and troughs, and spot transverse waves out in the wild. They identify ocean waves in nature and recognize that exact same science powering their home Wi-Fi routers or hospital imaging machines. It's a really effective way to ensure the mechanics of transverse waves actually stick.
And that brings us to Section 6,
Education with Morality, the Heroesmart Academy Philosophy.
Stepping back to look at the big picture here, the Godly Learners series highlights a promise found in Romans 8:6-7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. The overarching philosophy of the program is that keeping a spiritually grounded mind, even while learning complex secular science, brings this deep, stabilizing peace. It anchors the student. And that's exactly the holistic experience this curriculum aims to provide, mastering the mechanics of the physical world while maintaining that internal spiritual peace.
Because ultimately, and this is really the core tenet of their whole program, education without morality will hurt. The argument here is that having encyclopedic scientific knowledge, knowing exactly how to manipulate waves, energy, and matter, without a moral compass guiding how you use it, is actually a dangerous path. Yes, knowledge is power, but power without foundational morality to govern it, well, that can lead to destruction instead of creation.
The curriculum leaves its students with one final, pretty provocative thought. What is the point of being incredibly smart and highly educated if you just continue to make choices that hurt yourself and others? It directly challenges the students, and really anyone learning the physical laws of the universe like the waves we explored today, to make sure they're also actively building the moral foundation required to use that knowledge for good. And I think that's a pretty fascinating place to wrap up. Thanks for diving into this explainer and exploring this unique intersection of science and philosophy with me today.